Hello, welcome. People are joining. Okay, numbers are still creeping up, but I think we're going to start. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Q Exchange 4 application guidance session. It's really great that so many of you have made the time to join us to hear a bit more about our funding programme. We really hope it's going to be a helpful, informative hour for you. I'm going to introduce you to the team. So for the next hour, 12:30 until 1:30 or thereabouts, you are joined by four of us or five of us actually, no, four of us from the Q Exchange project team. So my name's Tanya Mason. I am the Community and Collaborative Change Manager. I lead on Q Exchange. I'm joined by Beth Banfield, who is our Programme Officer, who you will all get to know very, very well. Louise Smith, who's our Marketing and Communications Manager, and Sarah Koo, who's our Programme Coordinator. And I imagine you will also get to know Sarah very well because Beth and Sarah are behind all of the operational wizardry that is Q Exchange. We're very happy to be with you today. So here is the agenda, and we hope it's going to be a helpful one. So we're going to begin with an overview of our Q Exchange application process. Then we're going to go on to some sharing of assessor reflections, which we hope will be really useful. We then have Thomas Wayberg from NHSX, who we're partnering with for Q Exchange, who'll be talking to you a little bit more about this year's chosen theme. We have some helpful resources for you as a takeaway, and we will end with a Q&A. So any questions that you might have, we do really encourage you to kind of save them if possible for the Q&A. Appreciate some people might not be able to stay for the whole hour, which is fine. And we will do our best to kind of answer questions that might pop up in the chat throughout the hour. But if you can stick around to the end, there will be a Q&A around 1:10. We are hoping that, we're sure that we've got a real mixture of people here today, and we're hoping that you leave today's session feeling a little bit more clear on the Q Exchange process, the kind of collaborative element of this funding programme, which is really integral to Q, but particularly Q Exchange. And we're hoping that you'll leave feeling confident enough to kind of pursue any ideas that you may have been developing ahead of the idea stage opening next week. And Beth and Sarah are going to talk to you about kind of each stage of the programme, which should be really informative. Next slide. Thank you. So I'm going to pass over now to Beth and to Sarah. I will be in the chat if anyone has any questions. Over to them. Thank you.
Super, thank you very much, Tanya. So we're going to take you through the application process today, so you can just get a flavour of how it looks, so that when you log on, it's a bit more familiar. So to start with, you do need to be a Q member to lead on a Q Exchange project. So if you're not a Q member, that's fine. You can maybe work with a Q member, develop your idea together, approach them and see how that goes. So when you get to the Q page, hopefully you all know our lovely homepage. Here it is. You need to log on so that you can actually get into all the pages that you need to access. And then you can see the red tabs here. So there's the home button, there's community, get involved is where you need to head to. If you hover over get involved, you'll see that the Q Exchange section comes up. And then you can click on that and it will take you through to our lovely Q Exchange pages. If you're struggling to log on because you've forgotten your password, which happens to all of us, that's not a problem. You can use the lost your password link and get that reset. And if you're still having trouble, then do drop us a line and we'll be able to have a little look and get you sorted. So here is our current Q Exchange homepage. We're not open yet because we're opening on 15th of February. So it will look a little bit different, but essentially it will look like this. The buttons will update and you'll be able to access the applicant guidance, which will have all the information that you need in it. It's a one-stop shop. It includes what projects will be considered, who the project should benefit, and what projects and costs are not eligible. So do have a read through that. It's also got information on how you'll be assessed, so you can have a little think about what you need to do to get through and make sure that your idea has an impact. So down the bottom, you can see our 3 buttons that look like arrows. Your ideas will change to add idea. And then when you click on that, you'll be able to get started. That will take you through to a slightly different page. On the ideas page, you'll see lots of different sections to fill in. But don't be too intimidated, because you don't need to fill them in all in one time. And you don't need to fill them in all of them for the ideas section. So there are a couple of phases to Q Exchange, and the first part is the ideas phase. So you only need to fill in the sections that have got that red circle with the I in the middle. We've made nice and big here. So when you're trying to post your idea, you can edit it as you go. It doesn't need to stay the same, it can change. But try and get your idea into short key sentences without any jargon or acronyms. This will help it be more accessible to a wider range of people. Also to note, you can make lots of different ideas. You don't have to have just one. You can have lots and lots of ideas in the first stage. And then you can get lots of input from the community. But just to note that you can only put one through as a final proposal. So if there's one particular idea that you've had lots of input from other members of the community on, and it's really developed, then we would suggest that you put that one through to proposal. In this section, you can add an image. And I would recommend adding an image, because when there's lots of ideas, people are often scrolling through, and a picture really helps to stick your idea in people's minds, so they can easily find you again and comment on your page and give you some feedback. It will look like this once you've got your idea all ready. So this is how it will look when it's in the list. So here you can really see that having a picture is nice and bright. It means people can spot you easily and helping you to stand out. You can also see our lovely members here. These are the winning, some of the winning projects from last round, which was in 2020, and you can see their lovely profile pictures. So if you don't currently have a profile picture, maybe do think about putting one up so that people can put a face to your name. When you do this, you don't have to have it public. You can make your profile private, and that means that only Q members can see your picture. So if you're concerned about that, do have a look at our privacy section on the website. I would recommend going and having a look at last year's projects. They're all on the site, and you can have a little look through. You can go read what they've put, get an idea of what they've put on their pages in the past, what got them through to be a winning idea, and yeah, just get some ideas. Super. I'm going to pass over to my colleague Sarah now.
Great, thank you, Beth. So I think as we've mentioned before, a big part of Q Exchange is connecting with the Q community and getting their feedback and thoughts on your ideas. So one of the main ways that we'd encourage you to do this is through comments on the project page. So once your idea is up and your page is live, members will be able to post comments, which will appear kind of towards the bottom of your project page. And as you can see from the screenshot here, the types of comments you receive from members, it could be people showing enthusiasm or support for the idea. It could be someone working in a similar area of work who can offer contributions, or it could be someone pointing you towards perhaps like related online groups or SIGs, or other ideas that you could perhaps connect up with. Now, it's a good idea to keep an eye on the comments you receive, and if someone posts a comment to you, to reply back to them. And whilst the comments themselves don't form part of the assessment criteria, assessors do like to see that you've engaged with the community. So this is a really nice, clear way that you can demonstrate that. Next slide, please. So another great way of connecting with the community on your Q Exchange idea is utilising the online groups and SIGs and their members. So there are currently 92 online groups in total. So you'll definitely be able to find at least a few that are relevant or related to your project. And on the website, you can sort the list by active members, most members, alphabetical, and you can also filter by like area of interest or do a keyword search to find what you're looking for. And if you find a group that looks related, you can join or request to join and engage with those members. Alternatively, if you're already part of any online groups or SIGs, you can engage with colleagues in there and request their help or ask them to contribute via the comments on your project page. Either way, developing your project with the community is a really key part of Q Exchange and will help you gather really helpful thoughts and feedback from others. Next slide, please. And just a kind of reminder on some of the key dates coming up. So as Beth mentioned, next week on Tuesday, the 15th of February, we'll be opening up for ideas. So you'll be able to get your idea up on the website from the 15th of February. You'll then have until 12 o'clock on Tuesday, the 22nd of March to develop your idea, engage the community and convert your idea into a proposal on the website. And I think, as Beth mentioned, if you upload an idea, you don't have to convert it into a proposal, but you do need it uploaded as an idea in order to convert it into a final proposal to submit by the 22nd of March. Great, I'm now going to hand over to Tanya, who's going to take us through the next section.
Brilliant, thank you both. A couple of people in the chat have asked about slides and we'll be sharing the recording of this session. So it's definitely worth kind of watching it back and kind of going back over what Beth and Sarah just said to really familiarise yourself with how the process works. So thank you both. So this is our fourth Q Exchange. And for those of you that don't know, we always have at least one theme. And this year's theme is bringing together the worlds and methods of improvement and digital to enable better outcomes and faster, more sustainable change. We're really excited about the focus for this year. It feels really timely and we're expecting to get some really kind of energizing and innovative ideas, as we always do. And as I mentioned, we are partnering with NHSX for this year's Q Exchange. I'll be passing over in a little bit to Thomas from NHSX, who can talk a little bit more about the digital kind of component and expand on the chosen theme for this year some more. But what I'm now going to do is talk to a little bit about some feedback that we have had from previous assessors of the programme that we thought could be helpful to share. So we worked with Anna Burhouse, who many of you may know. Anna's one of our existing Q members. She's particularly known for her work with the SIG, improvement SIG, Psychology for Improvement. And Anna interviewed a number of assessors about their experiences of the programme, but also we were interested in finding out a little bit more about kind of what assessors were noticing, what patterns were kind of emerging around strength of application. And so we've summarised here some of the key things that assessors shared. They noticed that standout projects had the following in common. So these projects demonstrated, firstly, they demonstrated they were able to meet all of the assessment specifications and scoring criteria for the call. And had a really strong alignment to the brief. So really pay attention to the assessment guidance, which will be available to you all when the idea stage opens next week, as we mentioned. We've crafted it really carefully, so really spend some time understanding what we're looking for in that. Also, they demonstrated that the proposition proposed deliverables and timelines that were realistic and pragmatic. We want to see that the projects that you are asking for funding for really are going to be successful. We want to know that you've really taken your time to kind of understand what's feasible and what isn't. So that's something that assessors picked up on. Next, they demonstrated a really clear and compelling case for improvement. They also demonstrated data or research to back their case. It's always really interesting for us to kind of understand what's informing your idea. And a strong and smart improvement aim. And lastly, there was a rigorous approach to budgeting. So you are asked to submit a budget alongside your application. And it's important to spend some time really making sure that you are showing that you're demonstrating how that money is going to be used. So those are kind of just a few of the key things that assessors shared were really important, and do keep those in mind. Later on, we're going to be sharing some key resources that will link to some of the points that I've just mentioned as well. So we'll go on to kind of sharing those with you. I'm now going to pass on to Thomas, who I've mentioned. Oh, have we got one more slide? I think we have. There's one more slide. Yes, sorry, got very ahead of myself. So some more assessor reflections. So co-production and patient involvement in the delivery team. A strong team, so preferably with a mix of skills and knowledge and inclusive of patients. So Beth mentioned that the deadline for applying to become a Q member, if you're hoping to lead on a project idea, has now passed. But we really encourage you to be looking out for ways to connect with existing project teams. That's something that's still very much possible, because we like to see really diverse and well thought through project teams. A level of creativity and innovation that was intriguing and inspiring, as you would expect. We're very keen to see that. A clear clinical leadership voice with sufficient experience to inspire confidence. Next, that the project was holistic in its approach. So for instance, that it included a focus on well-being or systemic working with families or communities. Thought had been given to sustainability after the Q Exchange funding has ceased. So a really key part of Q Exchange is we're thinking about how we can achieve a wider influence. So it's exciting for us to see that you've thought about sustainability from the very start. And next we have a plan to share results and to include other Q members. Again, very much linking to this idea of sharing of learning that's key to Q Exchange. And lastly, a clear approach to engagement and buy-in, which in turn demonstrated a clear understanding of the importance of this for the change process. Just to stress again, you will get these this recording, so you can go back through these assessor reflections again. Okay. So we hope that that was helpful. I am now going to pass over to Thomas, who will talk a little bit about the theme, but also Thomas is a member who has applied for Q Exchange before, and so he'll also be able to talk a little bit about his experience of the programme. So if you're ready, Thomas, I'll pass on to you.
I am ready. Thank you very much. Not sure whether you can see me or have to see me or not. Doesn't really matter, but I hope everyone can hear me very clearly. So yeah, I'm Thomas Weiberg. I'm working at previously NHSX. Now we are officially incorporated into NHS England and Improvement into the Transformation Directorate. But I'm working in the digital health team. And as NHSX Digital Health Team, we partnered with the Health Foundation to deliver the Q Exchange. I think it's the 4th cohort this year, and helped develop the theme, which is around digital health. And it might be actually quite good if we could quickly go back to the theme slide, which is like 3-4 slides back. There we go. And the idea is really to build on the innovation and digital utilization in healthcare that we have observed over the last 2 years, especially in response to COVID response and recovery for many services. key examples of that being, for example, the virtual wards, which are very high profile and recognized in terms of effectiveness, as well as other remote monitoring solutions, platforms, systems, or whichever they are, might be, and that can span everything from long-term conditions to mental health, or even slightly more acute care or end-of-life care. And there are many different examples out there. But what is key is that to bring together, as it says here, the worlds of improvement and digital health. And at the moment, improvement is very much a methodology with great skill that is utilized in clinical and commissioning settings very effectively. But digital health as such is a little bit of a new player, and we strongly believe you cannot deliver improvement or digital health without each other. And that's why this theme has been set as that. Now, the ideas can be around anything that incorporates digital health and builds on improvement methodologies. So it's not only limited to the examples I just mentioned, because it is supposed to support innovation and discovering new ideas and helping to scale and develop these further through the Q Exchange. If you have any questions to the themes, you're very welcome to approach myself or Tanya, and then we can happily explain a little bit more if that is needed. But I would like to use this quickly as an opportunity as well to share with you my personal experience of applying for Q Exchange funding, which was actually part of cohort number 1. And I didn't at the end, or my colleagues and we didn't succeed with getting the grant, but we made it to the shortlisting and the final stage and just didn't make the final cut, which at that point was a little bit disappointing, but at the end, so many other great ideas got the funding they required. So I think I can only reiterate what the the Assessor's Reflections just highlighted. But what was absolutely crucial is to have a very good idea about what you would like to do, and that you understand the scale and complexities surrounding that idea, which leads into the aforementioned SMART aim, for example. But also the budgeting is very important, because it is £40,000, and knowing what to do with that money, whether that is supposed to go into some physical resource materials, or whether it's supposed to fund events and webinars or whatever it is. I think, I'm not telling you what is right or wrong, but think about how you want to utilize that money, which leads into from your idea into your proposal or project plan. And that is what the assessors will really be working with. And to get to this stage that it gets to a mature level, I think using the knowledge and wisdom and insight of your colleagues in your direct environment, but even more so the Q community, is absolutely essential. You may have a great idea. There might be blind spots that you haven't thought about, so those can be discovered, and your colleagues can help you to expand your idea and refine it in a really informative way. And once it gets to this final stage, then through the idea and to getting to the proposal and submitting that, then it just becomes a little bit of a journey, and you have to be patient, wait for the outcome with kind of any bit. But you got to a shortlisting stage, and if you make that cut, fantastic. It's an amazing feeling, very rewarding. But then it goes to the second stage. So overall, the journey is really rewarding, and you get to know so many people. And not only can you ask other Q members and other colleagues outside of Q to support your ideas, but you can also support other ideas and give your insights, knowledge, and wisdom to that process as well. So it is truly collaborative. And back then, I found the idea very or the whole process very interesting and inspiring. And now I'm lucky enough to work on the other side, actually, in supporting Q from this end. So I think, yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to approach me or later on in the Q&A. But I think I use this as an opportunity to hand back to Tanya.
Thank you, Thomas. I was going to say, you've come full circle, so it all worked out beautifully. We are going to have time for questions, so if anyone does have anything specific to kind of comment on what Thomas just said, maybe save it for that part of the session. So just very briefly, I mentioned that we have some key resources that we hope will be helpful for you. The first is actually a guide on how to write a great application that kind of furthers some of the things that Thomas and the Assessor Reflections shared. So I think that link is going to go into the chat. Do spend some time with that one. We also have, and you may have already seen this, a blog that was announcing the Q Exchange fall theme. And at the bottom, you will find a link, but I think we might have an additional one, to an insights piece. So just a word on the insight piece. And I'm glad Louise is here because she worked really, really hard on that alongside a couple of other colleagues who aren't here for this call. We really wanted to bring together existing insights on the theme for this year. And it's such a brilliant resource that we're making available to you. So, you can access it via the link we've put in the chat and spend some time looking at what we already know about the subject and thinking about kind of what you might want to build on. Where are you identifying gaps potentially also? And really encourage you to have a look at previous Q Exchange funded projects available on the website as well. I think we have some examples actually of potentially of some projects that we funded that had a digital and improvement theme, which I think we may also be posting in the chat. So there is a lot already out there to kind of support you in developing your ideas, and we really encourage you to make full use of that. So we hope that those resources will be welcome. I'm now going to move on to the Q&A portion of today. I know there have been, I think, a few questions in the chat that I'm not sure have been answered yet, and actually they're probably questions that it might be helpful to kind of for everyone to hear a more expansive answer on. So if you have any questions, please feel free to, I don't know if we're going to pop them in the chat maybe.
Yes,
yeah.
I was going to say there's been a couple of questions coming through, which I thought I would jump in whilst other people are having a little think about. So there's been a question around, can it part fund a PhD? No, I'm afraid not. That's not what it can be used for. These will all be in the information pack when it gets published, so you will be able to have a read through that of what we will and won't fund. But then backfill, yes, we very much expect projects of this size to be doing, to cover a lot of backfill actually. They usually do, so that they can free up nurses and clinicians and other people's time to deliver the project. There was a couple of questions around Q members being the lead and how would that work. So this is from the Q community. This is for our members to apply for funding. However, if you're not yet a member, then do please have a look at the website and consider joining. And if you have a really great idea that you think would work well, then reach out to your colleagues. If you go onto the website, you can search for members. You might find that somebody that you work with is already a Q member and that you could team up. The other thing to do is to have a little look at what you do see being published. These pages are open to everybody, so you can just see them, and then you could get in contact with people directly and say, oh, I work in this area, I'd love to collaborate with you. But yes, the lead does need to be part of the project delivery team. They can't just say they're a sponsor, for example. That is not how Q Exchange works. Lovely. If there's any other questions, if you want to raise your hand and ask, then please do, but feel free to pop it in the chat if you're not feeling quite so brave.
Just to add, if you scroll back up a little bit as well, so it's not missed, Sarah's really helpfully posted some examples of previously funded work in the chat as well, so you might want to have a look at those. Any other questions? I'm just scrolling through to see if we've got any hands up. I can answer this one, I think. Is that from Harm around applying for membership? So perhaps if someone wouldn't mind popping into the chat a link just to the application page for Q. So it is an application that you need to complete that then is assessed externally by some brilliant assessors. We generally try and kind of communicate an outcome within 2 weeks, but it is important to say again that unfortunately, if you were hoping to become a member to then submit an idea, so to kind of project lead an idea, as Beth just mentioned, that deadline has now passed. It was the end of January. However, you are still welcome to submit an application to become a Q member, because it will give you further access to the programme, and there are other ways that you can participate in the programme. And actually we'll be sharing some of the different ways you can be part of Q Exchange. So obviously the main way is submitting an idea, but actually there are lots of other ways you can kind of help to develop other people's ideas, to potentially assess ideas. So it's also worth thinking about other ways you might want to engage. But yeah, thank you, Sarah. The link is in the chat, Harm, so just have a look and just check that that's the one you accessed before. And we'll share our contact details again at the end of this call. So if you have tried to apply and anything wasn't clear, you are welcome to get in touch with us, and we can always offer some help. Any others, Beth, that you
I've just spotted IP protected in the programme. So this is an award programme, and all funding from the Health Foundation, if it's an award, then you will own the IP, the people who produce the work. So we will ask for a license to use it in case there's any really jazzy things that come out and we're really excited about them, so that we can write about them on our website and we can share those things, but you'll be the owner of the IP.
Any others that we might have missed that anyone spotted?
There's a question. Are you looking for a QI project with QI methodology? Just like the fourth one from the bottom up.
Okay. So with more of a focus, I think, is that question asking about whether or not we welcome applications on things that have more of a focus on QI methodology? I think that might be the question. And yes, we definitely welcome applications on with that focus. I've lost the name. I think it was it Annabelle that I think posted that one. Yeah.
Oh, Annabelle's got her hand raised. Would you like to unmute Annabelle and say anything?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to clarify, because I kind of had the impression that you were looking for a QI project and that was the important part. But when I saw the other ideas that have been submitted last year, it felt like what you were interested in was the idea itself and the sort of the service development idea and how good that was, and not so much on whether it was a pure QI, like had all the bits. So I just wondered about the focus.
Yeah, that's a really helpful question. I think we are interested in ideas that can also be applicable for others. So that might maybe explain why it appeared to kind of have more of a focus on the delivery. But at this stage, we do really welcome a range of ideas. And if you submit, Annabelle, an idea to the website, it'll be really interesting to see how other members interact with it too. But just to be really clear, we wouldn't be, we would be open to seeing that idea. So I'd really encourage you to make use of this first stage, upload your idea, look at some of the feedback that you get from others, particularly others who are very familiar with Q Exchange. That's what I would suggest. I don't know if anyone from the Q team would want to add to that.
I was just going to add that there was a project last year about how to get QI out to people through digital platforms. So yeah, so do have a look at last year's. They have changed with each round. There's a different theme. So yeah, do have a little look back. I've got a question from Tracy and one from Samara. So proof of concept and developing existing systems. Absolutely, it doesn't need to be an original idea. So if you have a pilot that you'd like to scale up, and it fits in with the theme, absolutely. Or if you are completely starting a new idea and you're not at all sure about if it's going to work or not, yes, we'd love to hear from you and see your idea. One of our ideas last year was about evaluating something that was ongoing, and they had lots of hills to climb, because then the product they were going to evaluate was changed. So these things do happen, and we'd be really keen to work with you so that we can make sure that your project does go through. So yeah, both of those are absolutely welcome.
There are a couple others as well, Beth, that I can see. So Paul, your question about will there be another Q funding round this year? There won't be another Q exchange this year. It's an annual kind of once a year program, but we do have other Q funding opportunities available. So I'd really advise you to kind of have a look at the Q website. We happen to have a new grant program that's rolling out this year, but with a slightly different focus. It's much more about funding kind of connecting and networking activity, but Q Exchange is but once a year. So do have a look at what else is there on the website. Hope that answers the question. Jude, you asked a question about talking through what would be acceptable for funding. I think the guidance is probably the most thorough way for you to get an answer to that question. I'd suggest next week, when the guidance goes live, as the idea stage opens, you'll be able to read through in quite fairly granular detail actually what we will and won't fund. I think that will be the best option for you. Any others that you've spotted there whilst I was speaking?
There was a question around digital that I was going from Jacqueline, that I was going to ask Thomas to have a little look at to see if he could shed some light on. But I can see that we've got Paul and Dave who've got their hands raised. So Paul, would you like to go ask first, and then we'll come to you, Dave? Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. Oh, here we go.
Okay, it might well be in the guidance that's either available now or of course will come out very soon. And I missed the first 20 minutes of today, so I'm probably going to be annoying and ask that question. It's already been answered for everyone else, but I just thought it'd be helpful to do it. I might be coming at it from a slightly different point of view. So I was approached by a Q member. I'm quite new myself. I signed up in December, January, but I was approached by someone else as a bit of a nudge that maybe I could think about expanding what I'm currently doing within project management. And they were suggesting that, and I've highlighted a few bits, so apologies, I'm just going to read from my screen. She was suggesting and highlighted to me there's an area. It's about bringing together the worlds and methods of improvement and digital to enable faster outcomes, sustainable change. So we're currently in Somerset rolling out small, albeit small stages, but it's gathering momentum, which is very much about project management and how that enables change, and that change can be sustained. And I'm wondering if what I'm currently doing, and we're trying to upscale it, and we're using a merger of two trusts, a trust and another trust, coming together as a bit of a pilot, 22 work streams working together, coming together. So everyone's starting to buy into it, but it will need a huge amount of work to upscale it from being a pilot of sorts. And I'm just wondering if I'm on the right track, because I guess she's nudged me and I'm thinking, okay, I'll have a look, I'll come along today and see if it fits with with that particular theme, if you like, because I think it does, but I just didn't know if it was going to fit with what you're going to be asking us to do in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds great. I mean, you're going across borders there, across two trusts. I mean, that sounds like a challenge in itself. And also bringing in the digital aspect, that sounds like it's really, a great project. And get it out there, and then you could get feedback from lots of the Q members, and I'm sure they will push you along in the right direction and say, oh, have you thought about this? And either expand your project or maybe narrow its focus down a bit more. So yeah, absolutely.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul. Dave?
Oh, thank you, Beth. Nice to see you. I'm wondering whether there would be an interest in looking at a project around education, because my experience of working in quality improvement, but also in digital transformation, is that outside of the Q community, levels of quality improvement knowledge and experience is mixed. And actually digital literacy is not as great as you might, as some might think it is across the NHS and certainly across social care. And I can't help thinking that there's an opportunity here around education, around both. And it kind of, they're both mentioned within the theme, but not sort of directly in terms of showing people how to do it. So I'm kind of the thought going through my mind is actually there's a piece of work here that could be done. We could build on other pieces of work that have been led by Q before to take it to the next level, really.
Oh, absolutely.
I was going to support that idea.
Absolutely, and point you towards Dive Into Digital, which is a project from last year that was funded about upskilling. So if you haven't seen that one, then I do recommend going and having a little look.
I think that one's in the chat potentially as well, but that is a really good point of reference, Dave. But just on the face of it, that sounds like a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
So
any other? Yeah.
I could respond to the question about the theme and whether it would be considered digital. There was one question. So first of all, I think, Dave, what you just raised in terms of digital or improvement capability and literacy out there, I think that's the intention of this year's theme as well, to elevate both aspects and actually bring those together. So that's one of the motivators behind this. So you're spot on. In terms of what is being considered digital, the question specifically whether online forums are being considered digital or not in terms of our definition. From what I see from the question at the moment, I wouldn't want to exclude it and strongly encourage you to apply and make a good case for the work you're doing, because at the end, it is about how you utilize the digital aspects. And if there's good reasons for using forums that way, and they lead to markedly better healthcare provision for staff or patients, then I would strongly encourage you to give it a go. And then through the community engagement, help to define and refine the idea or the definition of your project a little bit more. Does that make any sense? I hope so.
Thanks, Thomas. That's really helpful.
Yeah, got her hand up.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jackie Boyd. I'm a nurse working with intellectual disabilities in Northern Ireland. And we have, I specialise in medication monitoring for children on certain medications. And one of the monitorings required is ECGs. And the kids with learning disability, ASD and other sensory needs, we really struggle to get ECGs and are considering the digital as just like a wee handheld device that are used by other departments for other things for our service, and how it links with via an app, right, with a mobile phone and giving feedback. That would be counted as digital. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It would. I was just going to add in there, Jackie, that you might need to think about the whole project. So not just buying something and using it, but thinking about, like, are you going to do an evaluation? Are you going to do co-production with a group of people and get their feedback? That is what you sort of need to think about to make it into a project, because unfortunately we can't just fund the buying of hardware or software. So yeah, if you've got an idea, and I think that would be a really valuable thing to share their learning on.
And for that, would it be funding, like, should I be applying for staff, you know, costings for staff for additional hours to do the project or whatever?
Yeah, backfill, as I said earlier, yeah, backfill's very often a big chunk of the budget for many projects, just so they can have the time release for that 1 year.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
it would be really interesting to see that kind of co-production component really thought about, Jackie, with that idea as well. It's really intriguing.
No, this is just me. I've never done anything like this before, but because I've registered for this today, and that means I'm registered in the Q Exchange network, isn't it?
Not necessarily. Are you a member, Jackie? Are you a Q member? Do you know?
Well, I wouldn't have been, but that's why I
Okay.
applied for this.
So, okay, so what you have registered for today is just the Q Exchange and application kind of support workshop, but you will need to, if you're not a Q member already, you will need to apply to become a Q member. As we said, if you're not a member, it's slightly too late now for you to apply to then become a project lead, but there could be some real opportunity for you to kind of look at others who have a similar area of interest, who are existing Q members or who might already be thinking about submitting a project idea. But happy if you want to stay on the call afterwards, Jackie, we can kind of look at your membership specifically. But just to be clear to kind of everyone else that, yeah, registering for this event is not connected to registering for anything broader.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure. I thought all was one, but I'll go back and see what I have in the email.
Yeah,
thank you.
Sure. No worries. Do stick around, Jackie. We're happy to talk some more as well. Rachel, I think I can see a hand up there. Can we come to you next?
Yes, thank you. I'm Rachel Mason. I'm a family carer of 2 adult sons with autism and learning disabilities, and I've been self-directing their social care support for about 17 years now. And I put in the chat about 10-15 minutes ago asking whether or not this funding does actually go across onto social care as well as health, because everything that we've been talking about has been very strongly health, but I presume we are looking at health and social care ideas, if you like. About 4 years or so ago, as an end user, I could see a digital solution that would work for end users, if you like, to help self-direct their personal health budgets as well as their social care budgets, to be more transparent and have more choice and control over how that money's being spent. And it's taken me 4 years, because there's just me, little me, and it's painstaking trying to get those doors open and to knock on the doors of local authorities to promote direct payments, to promote individual service funds, personal health budgets, and to give people the digital tools to enable them to do that well and to broker good solutions. And although I have managed to be in 18 different local authorities, it's taken me 4 years to do that. And I didn't know whether or not the funding could be available to help that dissemination and to promote the learning from those 18 local authorities that are using the piece of software that I've designed to actually get the word out there, because on my own, I'm just running out of energy. And I didn't know if the Q community was a good place to help.
Yeah,
to help that.
It's a really interesting question. So to your first point about social care, you're absolutely right in highlighting that there has been more of a focus on health. So within our Q membership, the majority of our Q membership identify as working within health rather than social care. But we absolutely are looking at health and social care, and we're very much welcome social care ideas. We have a kind of a growing, I think we're recognizing more and more that we want to invest more in that social care component. So first of all, don't let that put you off. You're very right to flag it, but we absolutely would welcome, and that's to everyone, we would welcome ideas with more of a social care focus. In terms of the second part of your question around dissemination, can completely appreciate you must be exhausted, and just to acknowledge the amazing work you've obviously been doing up to this point on your own. And yes, we really want these ideas to be, we're thinking about, we mentioned earlier on about sustainability. So the idea of kind of spreading what's been done, what's been learned with kind of a wider network sounds brilliant. What I would really stress is, and this is to everyone, if at any point today anyone has said anything that kind of piques your interest, please do send people direct messages. Please do also make use of the member directory if you're assuming that you're all already members or planning to become members, and look at how you might connect with others, because I think, Rachel, your idea is such a brilliant example of kind of how it can be really challenging actually when you have an idea and you're thinking about how you kind of roll it out further. So I would suggest that you look at connections that you might make within the Q community, Rachel. So it's just to ensure that you kind of are part of a project team that's really well developed in supporting you with your idea. I hope that's helpful.
Mm-hmm. Lovely, thank you.
Good. Okay, Brian, are you a new hand that's gone up?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Brian. We can hear you. Hello.
I'm just trying to put my video on. And it keeps vanishing.
No worries if not. We can imagine.
Yeah, the question I was going to ask was one of the things. I work for the NHS blood and transplant, which is a bit niche. But one of the issues we often have is engaging with some ethnic groups in relation to sickle cell anemia. And it's very difficult to do anything in this area without involving the Sickle Cell Association UK. Is there any problem about co-opting those sorts of organisations in a project?
Hi, Brian, I can answer that. Absolutely not. We appreciate that you've got to work with lots of different people. And we also just mentioned, I don't think this has come up previously, but you can't be reliant on other funding to apply for Q Exchange. However, we have had several projects who've then gone on to get match funding because the project has gotten through and it's been successful and it's developed and really grown. So then they've had match funding from different trusts and people like that. So no, that's absolutely fine if you want to partner with other organisations. Just to let everyone know as well that funding can't be paid to an individual, it must be paid to an organisation. So you can't apply just for yourself and it needs to be an established organisation. Does that answer your question, Brian?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. As I say, it's very difficult to do anything in that area without involving them.
Yeah. But that's of interest to us actually, to kind of see who else you've considered when you're forming your bid. So as Beth said, we'd really welcome seeing the presence of organisations like that in your application. We're not far off time. I just want to check though that there aren't any other questions. I'm just seeing if there's anything in the chat now. Suzanne, can funding be used to assist with a digital project which is already being part funded internally? Yes, and you'll see this again in the guidance, what we do say is we're happy to kind of part fund projects. And I think we said earlier on, we're also happy to fund projects that are building on existing work, so long as you're not kind of reliant on that additional funding for the project to go ahead. So that's what we would say. Just checking through. Beth, have you spotted any other questions that people might have?
I don't think so, but it does not mean that I've not missed something. But if you do have questions, then do please reach out to Slack Exchange. Do you have time for one more? I can see Sarah just raised your hand.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah. I can see one in the chat as well. I'll just respond to.
Thanks for a very interesting presentation. I was just wondering, would the funding be okay to create an app or part creation of an app?
So there is some very specific funding around apps because we thought that we'd get a few of these. So it can't be solely to pay for the technology. There needs to be evaluation or another aspect involved, but yes, it can. And then there will also be there's a caveat to the funding that it has to be for public benefits and it can't be a profit-making app. So there is some very specific guidance. I wouldn't like to say it all here because I'll probably get it a bit muddled, but yes, that will be coming out. So if you've got an app in mind, then do have a little look through the guidance when it is here, just to check, and then you can get your idea up. But also, even if you've got an idea about it, if you don't want to take it through to proposal stage, if you're a member and you want to get your idea up and get some feedback, then that's great too. Get people chatting and get some quality improvement ideas integrating with digital. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Super, thanks.
Rachel, to your last question about kind of finding other Q members that have similar areas of interest, I think special interest groups, so SIGs, are a really good go-to. Just reaching out to SIGs and getting in touch, but also next to member profiles, you'll notice that people might list their areas of interest as well. And also perhaps going back through previously funded Q Exchange projects that will also have the kind of subject area of focus listed next to them. That might be a really good idea as well. Also just to get some kind of advice in terms of what worked for them or what they found challenging before. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. Yes, and Beth, just following on from my response to Laureen's question about budgets, we do expect very detailed budgets, as I've said, but they are only visible to the Q Exchange project team and also assessors. So there's other information that will be public on the Q or visible to Q members on the website around your project, but the budget won't, although it will say the amount of money that you've requested for your project, just to add. We are coming to time, and I'm kind of keen for the Q team to hang around just in case anyone wants to ask us something that you haven't felt able to otherwise ask. Just to stress again, I know we've said it a lot, but there is going to be detailed guidance coming out. And so if there are questions kind of on more of the granular detail that we've not been able to answer for you, we really encourage you to have a look through the guidance, and you can then get in touch with us. If something is still not clear or there's a bit of a grey area, we really welcome you reaching out to us directly. And the idea stage is, what's exciting about it is about experimenting, it is about connecting with others, it is about stretching your ideas, figuring out what works and how you could kind of build on them. So really see the idea stage as being a supportive aspect of this overall process before you then submit final ideas. So we'll hang around for a couple of minutes, but just a huge thank you to everyone for joining us today, for giving up your lunch, no doubt your lunch hour. We really hope to see lots of you submitting ideas, joining project teams, or at the very least becoming Q members. This is an annual programme, so you will be able to access it again next year. And there are also other funding opportunities that will be taking place this year. So also do have a look on the Q website. But otherwise, thank you for giving us your time. It was really lovely to see so many of you. And for those of you that do submit ideas, we wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much and have a great day. David, Jackie, I can see, and a few others who are still here. David, can we answer a question for you?
Yeah, you mentioned we were involved in a major pilot, involved in a program for hypertension screening and management and medication management. We spent a great deal of money on the sort of background of this, and the pilot will be moving ahead in February for launch in hopefully middle of March, beginning of April. Now, given that there is a commercial, obviously, input, there's a great deal, there's quite a lot of time and effort and resource put into this. Would this be eligible in terms of maybe the scaling or whatever? In other words, how does a commercial organization utilize sort of the Q network? And we'd certainly be interested in reaching out to other Q members. That would be a major element as well. But how would that really impact on the viability of putting this in as a project, given what I've just said about what we're involved in and the pilot and moving ahead in a particular proposition with because we've got a pharmacy portal. There'll be a major pharmacy and patient and GP portal. So how would that impact in what we can put or enter into as an idea into the Q Exchange?
Any thoughts first of all, Beth or Thomas? Anything that you is Thomas still with us? Beth, do you want to say?
So I'm not 100% sure, sorry David, where you're going with it, but so reaching out to, if you've got a section of a project that you'd like to do and you'd like funding for, so for example, if you're doing an evaluation of how it's going so far, or you're doing a certain area in co-production, then yeah, that would definitely fit. And then because I can see you remember, you could reach out to others and see if they're either in the local area or if they have similar interests. So yes, it's sort of difficult to say because I'm not really sure where your idea is going at the moment. But
sorry, my point being is that for instance, certainly we would be looking at, for instance, let's say take the one sort of area that you raised, which would be evaluation. I mean, that would clearly be a major area, would be very interesting to us. So, I mean, given that, and then when we asked for funding for the evaluation component of where we're going with this, that would be open, that would be acceptable as a project idea.
Yes, that would be a valid Q-Exchange idea. Yes, if it fits within the theme and it does all those other things.
Yeah, absolutely. No, obviously, yeah. I'm given all that. Okay.
Yeah. So is that okay? Did you need anything else, or
No, I think that's
okay.
I think that probably addresses it. I mean, I'll learn a lot more obviously when I read the documents next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Super, thank you.
Jackie?
Yeah, how you doing? Sorry, so I've just double checked there. So the trust is a Q-Exchange member, and applications would go via the quality improvement from our service.
Where are you based, Jackie? Just
the Southern Trust in Northern Ireland, so Southern Health and Social Care Trust.
So we've got lots of members there, so you could
definitely. So I was like, gosh, there's all these list of names. So whenever I was going through the chat.
Jackie, do you know? Are you a member yourself? Do you know if you were individually a Q member?
Whenever I went back through my emails just to double check, and it seems to be, I kept on the register for this event, which I presumed was all that was needed. So I don't seem to have.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say. You come from Q-Exchange.
Sure. You probably would have received, if you were a Q member, you probably would have received comms from Q at some point and things like that. So I don't know if you were a member, but as Beth said, there are probably lots of members that are in your trust that you could probably link up with, because you've got an idea. I wonder if you could maybe link in with others who are existing Q members who would be the project lead.
Absolutely. So I was just going to say that it doesn't look like you are just at the moment. That doesn't mean that you can't apply to be. But yeah, so if you go onto the Q website, it's called the member directory, and you can search for Southern Health and Social Care Trust, and that will bring up, I mean, I found about 18 people of lovely smiley happy people. So you can have a little look through there, and you might say, oh gosh, I didn't know that Gerard was a member, and then you go and have a chat with Gerard and see if you want to collaborate on it. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for coming, Jackie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sounds very interesting. Thank you.
Take care. Kevin, are you with us?
Yeah. I mean, I do have a question, I suppose. I'm part of the East of England Citizen Senate, an independent group of patient and public involvement. And I'm here now because I saw this and thought, great, do that. And I knew we had Q members. But they made an application. I think it might have been last year, might have been before. They said it was quite a lot of hard work, and they got through to the final 3, I think, and didn't quite get it. I wondered if we were to do another one, whether we could get some, I don't know, some extra support in a way to find out, what could we do differently to actually win the grant. Is there any sort of support like
that? So do you mean by way of kind of feedback linking to that previous application? that you could use to inform this new one?
Not necessarily, no. But, I mean, you know, I just wondered if there was something that we, I don't know, a partnership, you know, something that might have been missing from our bid that meant that we were, I don't know, just not standard enough, I suppose. I don't know. I really haven't got to. I was just wondering whether have you had people that are patient representative groups actually winning a Q exchange application?
We have, but they often reach out, and are you involved in the lab, Kevin?
Yes, yeah, on the remote monitoring.
Yeah, in our pilot year, we had lots of people who made connections through the lab, and then they put a project in together. And I think that is that's a real help for developing a project idea and making sure that you're addressing everything that the assessors are looking for. It is really difficult because we had 123 applications last year and get us down to 30. So sometimes the choices between projects is really tiny, and I know it's really disappointing to put all that work in. But I think if you're developing your idea with a wide base from the community, then you'd stand a really good chance of getting through. And we're more than happy if there's technical issues to help and to point you towards like groups that could help you as well. And that does, as Sarah said, it's not part of the assessment, but they do look at it and they can see, the assessors can see when projects have taken on board feedback. So that's a real help.
No, that's good. Thank you very much.